Houston Astros at 25-13, tied for the best start in team history. The '98 team started that and winning what wound up being a franchise best 102-win season. And the Houston Rockets back in the Western Conference Finals after completing a stunning comeback on the Los Angeles Clippers. So we had to dial up Mr. Houston Sports as far as we're concerned. John McClain here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, John?
Rich, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. What's the city like right now?
It's a buzz here. People are so excited to have the Astros on a roll that caught everybody off guard. And then last week when the Rockets were just pathetic in L.A., you know, you're there, get blown out 2 times in a row, 3-1 deficit, one more game at the Staples Center. Everybody thought the Rockets would lose, but they made this miraculous comeback. They win yesterday. They won back-to-back championships, 94, 95. It came back from a 3-1 deficit there. And it's so many things are similar, but it's been a long time. That's the last championship we had that wasn't soccer or minor league hockey or women's basketball.
John McClain of Houston Chronicle joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. So talk to me about McHale. What's he like? What's he been like as the coach there?
First of all, I thought Kevin McHale got screwed royally, considering he had to play half the season without an injured Dwight Howard. Then he lost the point guard, Beverly. Then he lost Montegunas, one of their top subs. And they had players in and out. Terrence Smith was in and out, starting forward. And to have the kind of record they had, I thought he at least, at the worst, would have finished third in voting for Coach of the Year, and he finished sixth. And then Daryl Morey, the general manager, brought in Josh Smith. Everybody thought he was nuts. Detroit didn't want him, brought in Corey Brewer. I thought they made a mistake when they let Chandler Parsons go to Dallas and subbed him out for Trevor Ariza. But every move that McHale and Morey made has turned out to be gold, and it's never more evident than in the 19-point comeback in L.A., ignited by Brewer and Smith, and then again yesterday when they put that thing away.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get the Houston perspective here, because the Los Angeles perspective is essentially Clippers ran out of gas, and that's why this series turned. What is it from the Houston perspective as to how this happened?
First of all, Rich, let's be honest about that game that the Rockets came from behind by 19 in the third quarter and 13 in the fourth. First time in 49 playoff games they had won after being down double digits in the fourth quarter. It was great by the Rockets, but the Clippers just choked. I mean, they couldn't hit anything. To me, it was the ultimate choke, and I've seen the biggest choke in NFL history, the Oilers at Buffalo, so I know what a choke looks like. And then, of course, the Rockets put it all together, but at that point, I thought the Clippers just gave it to them. And right now, people are pumped. They think this team has a chance to beat the Warriors, even though the Warriors had them 4-0 in regular season. The Warriors had the best record in the league, and they had no answer for Steph Curry. One of the reasons people are so fired up here, they believe that James Harden got wronged in the MVP vote over Curry, and this is a chance for Harden to prove it. And we've had so many bad times, Rich, where our teams were terrible. Well, this time Rockets weren't in the playoffs. The Astros were the worst team in the league. Texans were coming off a 2-14 season. This was all last year, so you can excuse us for being a little overly excited for these accomplishments at this point.
John McClain, Houston Chronicle, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk Astros. Where did this come from, John?
We don't know. We have no clue. They brought in A.J. Hinch, a new manager, like who he? Nobody knew. And then Dallas Keuchel and Colin McHugh both started winning streaks at the end of last year. Mm-hmm. Both have been outstanding. They hit home runs or they strike out. They got 4 starters who couldn't see the Mendoza line with a stepladder, and yet they just swept 4 from the Blue Jays. They've won 5 in a row, tied the greatest start in franchise history, and they do the little things, but it's maddening because there has so many guys hitting less than 200, including George Springer. Everybody wants Correa brought up from AAA, the shortstop, who I can't remember if it's MLB.com, Baseball America, whoever says he's second best prospect in minor league baseball, and we want to see him. He'd be the hottest hitter coming up through their system since Hunter Pence. Before that, it would have been Lance Bergman. But they need some oomph where they can rely on a double or a single or a triple. But they've got good setup and closing in the bullpen. Last year they were awful coming out of the pen.
So are fans showing up, John? Are they showing up to the park?
Rich, it's embarrassing that it's not. People say, "Oh, it's because of the Rockets." It'll be better when the kids are out of school. The fact of the matter is, fans here have this holding their breath, waiting for the bubble to burst, and it's ridiculous. I think since opening day, their biggest crowd may have been 27,000 Saturday against the Blue Jays, and that's ridiculous. Back when they had Clemens and Pettit and the Killer Bees, they averaged more than 3 million fans a year. So I'm hoping people here will get behind this team as they have the Rockets and the Texans.
Sure. I've got a few minutes left with you, John. Do you have a Clowney update? What are you hearing about Jadeveon Clowney?
Jadeveon Clowney has done everything he's supposed to do. He's right where he's supposed to be at this point, but he's still got a long way to go. They won't say this, but they're hoping sometime in camp he'll be back on the field. Personally, Rich, I think if he's back for the first game, just playing in passing situations, that would be great for the pass rush.
And who's going to be the quarterback?
That's going to be the competition is going on now. So I think Ryan Mallett is the incumbent. I'd like to see him get it, but my money is on Brian Hoyer because he has so much more starting experience and one more year in Bill O'Brien's offense.
And the discussion about Bryce Petty in New York is, well, I mean, he's got some growing up to do before he might even be pushing Geno Smith this summer. What do you think about Bryce Petty's immediate future with the Jets?
Bryce Petty is 23 years old. He spent 6 years in college, gray-shirted, transferred. He's very mature, 6'3", 230. Played almost all last seasons with 2 broken bones in his back, that transverse process, so he only rushed for 4 touchdowns instead of 14. People say you can't come from that system and play in the NFL. RG3 did it when he was NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, took the Redskins from worst to first. That means the coach has got to do a good job of using him the right way.
So do you think he can push Geno, if it's possible?
I don't think this first year they're counting on it, but it's not like Geno Smith is anything great. You know how it is, Rich. New staffs come in, they say they love the incumbent, but they always want their own guy.
And, John, I got to ask you before you go, I know you're a Game of Thrones guy. John, did you see last night's episode? Did you catch it?
I've never missed an episode. Never missed a minute of Game of Thrones.
So who is your favorite character in Game of Thrones, John?
Now, if I said it was Ramsay, you'd never have me on.
He is the worst, John.
It's not. I wanted Freak to run over there and slice his head off last night.
Yes, John. Correct.
But my favorite character on there has always been Jamie Lannister because he was so good in The Other Woman with Cameron Diaz.
That's right.
And look what he's done with one hand.
Look at him, John.
I don't care if he's a reprobate and he's fathered all of his sister's kids. Fact is, he's had redemption, and they need more of that.
Thank you, John McClain. Let's chat soon, okay?
Rich, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. That's John McClain.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.